This is the Tesla Model Y. It's an electric car, and if you know something about the Model 3, you'll already know 90% plus about the Y. It's a taller 3, in a way, a 3 SUV. Based on the same platform, it is 50mm or 2 inches longer than a 3 and 180mm or about 7 inches taller. Just over an inch of that, 27mm, goes into increasing the ride height. So the rest of the height is in the body, making this car a more spacious and practical one than the Model 3. The Tesla architecture is pretty skateboardy, which means the batteries sit low in the wheelbase with double wishbone suspension at the front and a multi-link setup at the rear. Wheels are 19 inches as standard or 20s as an option, as fitted here, and I think they're rather nice. At launch and in the UK, that'll be sometime in the first half of 2022, there will be 2 versions, both 5-seaters. This is the long range, and there'll be the faster performance version too. It's too early to give firm prices, but if it's a few grand more than a Model 3 long range, this car will be in the low to mid £50,000 mark. You're paying for extra practicality. There's a fruit in the front and a boot in the back, or a frunk and a trunk as you prefer, and in all there is more than 2,000 litres of luggage capacity. Okay, so welcome to the interior of a Model Y, which if you're at all familiar with a Model 3 will feel, well, pretty similar. The big difference is I've got loads of headroom in here, and actually if you move into the back, the fact that this car has got the extra room at the top and also this big moonroof that goes over means you get lots of head and legroom in the back as well, which is not something you'd necessarily say of a Model 3. In the front, well, things are good. There was a 2021 update to the Model 3 which got rid of some black piano plastic and introduced this kind of silvered stuff, and this car gets that too. Also gets some details similarly on the outside. It gets sort of black detailing rather than chrome detailing. But the rest of the Tesla experience is, as ever, dominated by this huge 15-inch touchscreen with very few other controls. So I've got door indicators and gear selector and window switches, but other than that, pretty much everything is dealt with this 15-inch touchscreen, for good and for bad. So the good things, it's fantastically responsive, the resolution is terrific, the graphics are great, it's actually very easy to navigate through. You get used to what things do very, very quickly. The bad things are, well, I just like more actual physical buttons from time to time. Some of the driving controls have migrated to this screen, and I'm not sure they always should be. The argument will be, well, you can just put things on auto, such as the headlights or the windscreen wipers, and leave them alone, and you'll only adjust the steering column or the mirrors, which you sort of select on here and then move around based on that. You know, you'd only do it once before you go. I'm not sure that's always necessarily the case, but as touchscreens go, it's brilliant. It's really, really terrific. I don't think there is a better touchscreen in the business, but I'd just like a few more physical buttons to go with it. And in terms of interior quality, I've heard some people say that, you know, Teslas aren't up to standard sometimes, but I think this is pretty good. Fit and finish and feel is nice in here. It probably helps actually that there are fewer, you know, buttons to get in the way from that point of view. But you know, if you prod things, if you move things move a little bit, but I think at this price the quality feel is okay. But let's see what it is like on the move. Right, so welcome to the very quiet, isn't it, driving experience of the Model Y. I'm doing 35 miles an hour, 36, and get a bit of wind noise, you get a bit of road noise. I'll come back to that in a minute. This is the dual motor, all-wheel drive, long-range version. So there are going to be 2 variants of it. This is one. The other one is a performance, which is a little bit quicker, but it has a shorter range. But they're both fast. So this has got a motor at the back axle, it's got a motor at the front axle. Tesla doesn't sort of officially reveal the size of its batteries, but we think it's about 75 kilowatt hours, which is more than 90% of the total battery size is the usable size, which is about 75 kilowatt hours, which gives it an official WLTP cycle range, which is the new European drive cycle combined cycle range of 315 miles. And that suggests it's the same size battery as in the Model 3, because that's got a smaller frontal area and is that bit lower, and it's got a WLTP range of like 340, something like that. So that would suggest this bigger, heavier, slightly less efficient car has a slightly shorter range, which is about right. On AC, the Tesla Model Y can be slow charged at up to 11 kilowatts. Meanwhile, on DC, it can be charged at up to 250 kilowatts on fast chargers. And for my money, Tesla's exclusive Supercharger network is still the best bunch of chargers in the UK.
It's also a little bit slower in a straight line. So the sort of peak power combined of the two motors is about 430 horsepower, 360 pounds-foot. But of course, that pounds-foot comes in from nothing, from rest. So while a Model 3 long range goes to 60 in about 4.4 seconds, this will do it in 5 seconds flat. It's really fast. If you step off from rest to blend in with other traffic, EVs are fantastic for that. They are really quick. They also make for very relaxed driving the rest of the time because you don't have any gears to worry about. Even in an auto, sometimes they'll sort of hesitate before shifting down, shifting up. The response in this is just terrific. You can affect the response if you want to. Now, this is where the thing comes in. I have to go to the driving menu while still looking at the road, and I can put the acceleration mode in either chill, which just rounds out and softens the throttle and braking response a bit, or I can put it in standard, which makes it that bit more urgent. It's nice either way. It's nice, it's refined, it's smooth. I can't change the dampers or the suspension response, but what I can change is the steering weight from comfort through to standard through to sport, which gets increasingly heavier. I think it's probably at its nicest for me actually in comfort, where it's got a nice weight. It's 2 turns between locks, which is quick but not nervous. It's got a nice amount of self-centering. It is actually quite a nice steering system, actually, I forgot to say.
As on Model 3, Autopilot is standard with enhanced autopilot or full self-driving capability as an option and not fitted here. Now, Autopilot is a good adaptive cruise control system which helps keep you in a clearly marked lane too, and it works very well, but I don't really like what the phrase autopilot suggests very much, and I like the phrase full self-driving capability even less. Tesla's reasonably big small print makes it very clear. Keep your hands on the wheel, maintain and control responsibility. You must be in control, pay attention and be ready to take immediate action, including braking. Please don't buy one of these thinking it will drive itself.
So in terms of the ride and handling, I think this is where Tesla perhaps reveals itself to be more of a tech company than a vehicle engineering company primarily, because I don't know if you can see or hear, but the ride is pretty firm. It's pretty stiff, it's pretty knobbly around town. And I know I'm on the left-hand side of the road, which doesn't help because in the UK that is the worst bit of the road. But in general, this is a pretty, uncomfortable is the wrong word, but it's a pretty stiff car. You quite often get a sort of clonk from things as it's mooching along. So part of the reason that EVs do tend to be quite stiff is that engineers try and sort of keep hold of the body movements. But I was speaking to a ride and handling engineer the other day from another company. He says actually the thing is, because the centre of gravity is so low in electric vehicles, because all the weight is down the bottom where the sort of skateboard battery pack is, you don't necessarily need the sort of stiff anti-roll bars that have been fitted to EVs to keep sort of roll in check. The centre of gravity is so low that actually there isn't a huge amount of roll anyway, so you can slacken off those anti-roll bars, and some early EVs have had quite stiff ones, which effectively means the suspension is no longer independent, because an anti-roll bar ties both sides together. One side moves if your anti-roll bar is stiff, so the other side moves, and a car sort of jiggles down the road quite firmly. As car companies get the hang of doing dynamics for EVs better, the ride is getting better and better of them. Jaguar's I-Pace is very good. Porsche's Taycan is very good. This is okay, but could be improved. Otherwise, it's quite pleasant to drive. The steering is smooth and slick. There isn't loads of roll. It accelerates quickly. It decelerates quickly. It is quite enjoyable. I still think we're a little way off from most EVs being as much fun to drive as internally combusted cars, but as it goes on, we are getting closer and closer and closer. Where does this sit in terms of fun to driveness amongst its rivals? It's not bad, you know. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 goes down really well with my colleagues, as does Ford Mustang's Mach-E, but I think this is really, really in the mix, and I like this car a great deal. Ultimately, dynamically, it's in the mix. Ergonomically, it's in the mix. Throw in the Supercharger network as well, and I think this is a really competitive EV, which I like a great deal. So thank you for joining us. If you've liked this, why don't you like, subscribe if you click the bell notification, you don't miss one. We're at autocar.co.uk all the time, all good news agents, digital subscription, and here at least once a week on the YouTube. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.